If you have ADHD and a ton of health stuff is going on, I have discovered the most incredible resource to share with you. It was developed by a working group of 100 experts and focus groups, and I'm sharing it and my story to help others find answers, hopefully without it taking a decade like it has for me. For me, it all started when my little guy Harry was born, and he's now 10. In this time, my health has been so shite. Cognitive decline, joint pain everywhere, gut issues, dizziness, blinding headaches, and extreme fatigue, and more have been my norm and have gotten worse and worse. But finally, about 6 months ago, I began to unravel what was behind my health problems. One diagnosis at a time, I was finding research that explained my symptoms, and I'm slowly recovering with a lot of trial and error, and I've seen some amazing leaps in improvements. So just as my health started to improve, lo and behold, some angel in a US Facebook group shared a resource that explained the whole bloody nightmare. I can't possibly fully express how much of a game changer this document is for adults with ADHD and those who are autistic. Essentially, it's a document for doctors explaining how to assess and treat a constellation of illnesses that we commonly experience. So its purpose is to help your doctor manage your health issues. And in my mind, it is without a doubt the most valuable piece of info I've ever come across, apart from the article that I read that made me realize I have ADHD. But having everything laid out like this document is beyond incredible. So there are some key points I want to make before you rule out whether it's relevant to you, because it's not always obvious. Firstly, you don't have to have evidence of every condition it mentions for it to be relevant. Secondly, you might think some of these conditions aren't relevant to you when in fact they are. For example, so many people have been told they're not hypermobile by specialists because they're not at the extreme end of the hypermobile spectrum. Sound familiar? Many doctors don't realize that hypermobility doesn't have to impact all joints or even be severe to be a problem, and it can be historical. So if you were flexible as a kid, that's enough. Another really important point, the reason why this info is so important is because all these conditions are interrelated. And therefore, treatment of one the wrong way can make others worse. But similarly, treatment of one the right way for us can have amazing benefit across the other conditions. Okay, now let me explain how this document works. It's essentially 2 tables. The first contains info to help your doctor assess these conditions, and the second contains info about how to treat them. And the overarching areas that these conditions fall under: sleep, no surprises there, many of us have issues with sleep; hypermobility spectrum disorders or hypermobile EDS or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome; cardiovascular disorders, particularly POTS; allergic and immunologic type conditions, including mast cell activation syndrome; and autoimmune disorders. And this is really important, and I'll say more about this in a moment. Gastrointestinal disorders, chronic pain and related conditions, including fibro and migraine, post-infectious and related conditions, including long COVID and chronic fatigue, reproductive conditions, including endo, polycystic ovaries, and premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and even miscarriages. And finally, craniofacial and skull and dental issues, the most common of which is temporomandibular joint dysfunction, which many people have that I know who have ADHD. And there's one last detail I want to point out in this resource. At the beginning of the table about treatment, as you'll see here, it says, because mast cell activation disease is so common in this population, this may be a particularly helpful lens to look through. The more I read and learn, the more I believe mast cell activation is a key driver of so many of the problems we have. And I hear more and more experts saying this too, including the incredible autistic doctor who put this working group together, but many other experts as well. And the best bit, the management of mast cell activation syndrome is outlined in this document. In terms of my own story, much worsening cognition and pain, amongst so many others, had gotten so bad that they were making functioning almost impossible. But I'm finally on the mend. So please share far and wide. I've seriously deep dived into this info and so many of the papers listed in the last 18 months also. Much love and healing vibes.